When I was just a young Mega Man fan, they used to run commercials on TV for jam that said, with a name like Schmuckers, it has to be good. And so when I see a game called Death Duel, that's the same thing I think. With a name like Death Duel, it has to be good. Well, Genesis does what Nintendon't because it's exclusive to the Genesis and the Mega Drive. But is it good? Is it fun? Does it live up to a name as exciting and enticing as Death Duel? There's only one way to find out. We've got to put the game in the old Genesis, or in this case, the Analog Mega SG, and give it a try. So let's see what these two guys shooting lasers out of their eyes are really all about right here on Genesis Does. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan. Thank you for watching, and without any further ado, let's get into the gameplay. And there is a lot of plot to this game. Way more than I expected for something called Death Duel. Since it takes forever and a day to scroll up the screen, I'm just going to read it straight from my iPad because I believe I've got the entire plot right here in front of me, the same thing that scrolls up the screen like a Star Wars movie. Ahem. Taking place in the future year of 2140, which kind of dates this game because they thought that was like way in the future, and now that's only a century away, so it doesn't seem so far away now like it used to. Anyway, sorry, I digress. According to the Intergalactic Treaty Ruling XXT 73.8, wow, that must be some year 20XX type numbering that they're using. Oh, Section 7, I forgot. In the year 2140 AD, all intergalactic disputes must be settled by duel to the death. All duels represent final and binding decisions between the galaxy's superpowers. You represent the Federation's greatest hope of winning the war against its enemies to regain control of intergalactic traffic lanes throughout the universe. You operate a land-based, artificially intelligent, dynamic composition A7 Trinity wrote cyborg. In a recent incident, the other 9 powers seized control of the flight paths. The loss of control over these passages has damaged commerce and food supply and subjected you to cruel and merciless pirates controlled by the other 9 powers. The Federation's future in existence lies in this duel challenge, so they have chosen the best, you, Barrett Jade, to duel the Super 9. They're merciless and ruthless warriors. You must win each duel in order to rescue the Federation from its accelerating plunge into the dark, abysmal grasp of the Super 9. Did you think a game called Death Duel would have that much plot? Did you just picture somebody picking up a gun and firing willy-nilly at everything in sight, trying to kill all his enemies? That's certainly what I pictured when I heard the name Death Duel. But at least it gives us some configuration options to start the game out, and shows us a little silhouette teaser of our very first enemy. Now for some non-plot related facts, now that we've gotten through all of that. The developer was Punk Development, and there certainly seems to be a punk-like aesthetic, like they think it's Cyberpunk 2077 up in here. The publisher was Razorsoft. The release date is the cryptic 1992 with no exactitude to it. And players start off the game with the first duel with a set amount of ammunition for their weapons. The player's robot controls 3 weapons indicated by all 3 buttons on the controller. Once you complete a duel, you go through a bonus stage to qualify for the next duel, as well as increase your score and money. Players can then purchase more ammunition or new weapons for their robot at a local shop. Players time their attacks and aim precisely for key locations of their opponent's body. Some enemies can regenerate missing parts, while some enemies depend on particular mechanical parts to evade fire. If the player runs out of ammunition for all their weapons before the duel is over, they lose a life and restart the duel. If the duel timer runs out before the duel is over, the player must also lose a life and restart the duel. As you can see there, I just did, so I've got 3 tries left. And what's with our Vanna White hostess here? This is a death duel. but apparently we've got an audience watching this duel. Another thing I noticed in the very plot-heavy introduction to Death Duel is the foreboding warning, "This is not a shooter. Don't just mash the fire button and expect to win. Strategy is important. You must choose the right weapons and the right plan of attack to defeat your enemies." So they're really laying it on thick here. It almost makes me wish I had the boxing manual to go with this one to see just how badly they wanted you to know this was a serious game for serious players, even though the graphics and the enemies are not like, how do I say, as imposing as all of the text that accompanies it. I mean, it's almost cartoonish, to be perfectly honest. Like, these little things running across the screen that look like they're wearing football helmets. And these little worms, like, pop in and out of the ground and wiggle along. And I mean, this almost feels like it should be a light gun game, but they're forcing you to do it with the D-pad. And nothing about this is as heavy-handed as the plot. It's like the developers and the graphic designers were not in sync. The people writing the script for this game were like, we're making this very serious game about this very serious intergalactic conflict. This is the Babylon 5 of video games. And the graphic designers were like, yeah, let's make it look like Marvin the Martian and Acme. You know, there's just no connection between one and the other. Even the aliens don't look that menacing. And this guy here, he looks like a fat version of Cyborg. I mean, really, how am I supposed to get the impression that this is life or death when there's a monkey just roaming around bothering this guy like, hey, what's your problem? You're not feeding me. You're not playing with me. Do something. I'm going to tap you on the head until you do something. Then I'm going to turn around and show the camera my ass. My ass! My ass! Ah, my ass! Yeah, you got a monkey on your shoulder, buddy. What do you expect? So, I'm buying weapons and restocking for the next round of the Death Duel. I feel like I need to just scream it in the most metal, death metal voice. Like, Death Duel. This is a duel to the death. You're in the Death Duel. It's an evisceration plague of death. Okay, sorry if that blew out your ears. I hope not. Anyway, I'm prepared to duel. I have bought all my weapons and I've repaired my ship. And I'm ready to go with round 2. Recently, one of my videos got a comment from my friend Trenton Ray, aka Liquid Sky, who said, "Congratulations, Mr. MegaManFan. You finally stumped me. You played a game I've never played before." So I guess I'll ask that question about Death Duel, since I try to pick games that Genesis does that Nintendon't. It's my goal. It's my object. It's my raison d'etre for this series to play games that are exclusive to the Genesis, and sometimes that means they're also going to be obscure games because Mortal Kombat's going to be on everything. Ms. Pac-Man's going to be on everything. Death Duel, that ain't going to be on everything. So have you played this game before? And if so, what do you think of it? Leave your comments below. So this battle is not going particularly well for me. I can't seem to do much damage to this guy. And there's something really cheap about this game when your opponent goes all the way to the left or the right. The gun you're targeting them with can't go all the way over to the right where they are. I don't know if that's on purpose or an oversight by Razorsoft and Punk, whatever their Punk name is, CM Punk, Punk Development. Did they do that on purpose? Like, you gotta lure your enemy back out in the open? Or did they just not think you needed to keep scrolling all the way over to one end or the other, so they let the enemy get out ahead of you without considering that? I mean, I don't even know how the AI is programmed for these enemies. I don't know if it's, like, sophisticated and predictive, but I suspect on a 60-bit Mega Drive cartridge, it's probably not that complex. I mean, you're lucky you can get 8-bit NES games to play chess, let alone expect a 16-bit game to have adaptive, predictive, and responsive, artificially intelligent enemies that learn from your patterns and avoid them in the future and change their tactics to counter your tactics. I mean, this ain't exactly even a Mortal Kombat type of game where you could at least know that your enemies are going to get progressively more difficult the further you go along. I mean, they talk about strategy in the opening of the game, but really the only strategy is know which body part to shoot and know which weapon to shoot it with. Like, for example, I've knocked off all the enemy parts in this duel, but I can't seem to do any damage to the parts that remain, so either I've got the wrong weapon or I'm targeting the wrong spot. And it's not like the game is giving me any clues to tell me what I should be doing that I'm not. So unless I was using a FAQ and basically cheating, I don't know how I would win this battle. Only thing I can do now is go back to the weapons shop, try to buy some different weapons, see if it's any more use to me than the ones that I already had. As the monkey continues to wander around like, hey, pay attention to me, or I'm going to show my ass to the camera. Yeah, that really doesn't help me at all. Thanks, monkey. Monkey, you could at least give me some advice and tell me what to do. You could hold up a sign that says, buy this weapon instead. No, they're not that clever. They didn't think of any ways to give you hints, even subtle hints. So, Death Duel, my opinion on the whole, it's intriguing, but it's not as epic as anything in the text crawl makes it out to be. It's not going to suck you in like it's this heroic war against this incredible foe, and it's this life or death battle. I've played 8-bit games that feel more menacing and ominous and foreboding and tough and difficult and brutal than that. Platoon, not the greatest game in the world, but at least you feel like you're in the jungle fighting for your life. At least it feels like there are severe consequences. And then look, they just stick a Reaper in this game like suddenly you've got to know this was all for real and you failed, and now they're going to take your head with a scythe. And once again, we get the text crawl of epicness telling us you failed badly. Your rotting corpse is going to be left on the display to remind people what a pitiful, utter failure you were. Meanwhile, the earth seems to sink into depression and decay in the background, turning from blue to black. It's almost like they were going for a Chrono Trigger aesthetic here, where you lost the final battle and the earth was consumed and it's game over, man. Game over, yeah! I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching Death Duel, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.